So for people like us guys, for those, I mean, I don't know how many of you guys have your ear space to the Discord or the Twitter, but for us, the AAA stuff is really what matters. Like, we have, both Brian and I have a Nintendo, a PlayStation, and an Xbox. We like each three, but we're so sick of the Xbox because we remember a time when they were putting out bangers, and it's just not anymore.
Yeah, well, exclusives are where the conversations lie, right? And there's two elements to this. There's the super nerdy industry people, like, well, I don't want to say, okay, what I'm trying to say is Josh and I are not industry people, but we care deeply. We're plugged into the industry. We're constantly looking at news every day. We're constantly following the topics. People like
Ryan,
us,
did you see
especially.
this? Oh, yep, already.
Yeah, exactly. We've already seen it. So it's like people like us, we're looking for these tentpole titles, and we're part of our gaming as a hobby is the anticipation for these big games that come out every year. A lot of times they're third party, but just as often they're first party, right? Like last year it was like Horizon Forbidden West, Elden Ring, God of War. You know, this year it's been Hogwarts Legacy, Jedi Survivor. Redfall was gonna be one. You know, we're waiting. Starfield. We're waiting for these big games, and that's what we look for. So that's important for us. But then there's also the element of, like, for instance, my wife teaches at school. She has kids in her classes, and the kids, she hears them talk about the games they're wanting to play. And what are the kids talking about? They're talking about God of War Ragnarok, Hogwarts Legacy, Tears of the Kingdom. You know, the kids are saying, this is what kids are talking about in grade school, because these are the things, this is what keeps the industries, like, it's not really new information, guys. Like, what is the flow of conversation around the industry? It is certain games and the hype that surrounds them and the anticipation and just what these teams have been able to pull off. Right now, Jedi Survivor is probably the most recent, like, really good game that people are like, wow. You know, and then now everyone's waiting for Tears of the Kingdom. That'll be the next one. Then it's going to be Diablo 4, Final Fantasy 16, Starfield. That's the flow of things. That's pretty common for people to care about this, but it's so rough to be in that space. If you're an Xbox-only person, what have you haven't got to be a part of the conversation for Ragnarok, for Tears of the Kingdom, for Mario Odyssey, for Last of Us Part 2. I could go on and on. Spider-Man 2 is going to be coming out this year. Yeah. Now, if Starfield's great, that's going to be awesome. And we've heard this in other podcasts and other YouTube like channels and stuff, is there's an element, even if you're not a console fanboy, even if you're an adult who's responsible, there's a little bit of pride you wear being able to say, I have the console that plays Halo Combat Evolved. I have the console that plays Ocarina of Time. I have the console that plays the Grand Theft Auto games. You know, I have God of War. I have Jak and Daxter. I have Ratchet and Clank. What has been the pride for Xbox exclusive owners? Like, what is a game that you've universally been able to go out in public? There's always going to be haters. But what game has come out on Xbox you're going to be able to universally go out and say, we got that game? I remember when Josh and I could go out and say, we got Gears, people would be like, damn. We got Halo, damn. We got Fable, damn. You know, like, holy shit.
Every time they come out with, like, some big AAA game, which there hasn't been a lot of variety of, but when they have, there's always a stopgap between that and the next one. You have Sony, which, even though I feel like their stuff has been a bit spaced out, there's always, you play a new one, then there's always another one on the horizon, not too far away. Xbox doesn't have that. And the thing that sucks too is that Starfield got people excited from the reveal, even though it looked kind of janky and buggy from the reveal. I think personally, it still got people excited. And we know that this game in particular is a system seller. Like, and that is the, like, Jeff, I didn't tell you, Jeff just bought a Xbox Series S the other day because of Starfield. Like, Starfield was the reason he bought it.
And I want to get into Starfield talk. I got so much I want to talk about. We'll come back to it.
You got that game that's going to come out, and people were already excited for that. People are already looking forward to that. And obviously there's some anxiety bubbling around it right now. But the pressure is, like, because like, the pressure has now fallen on Starfield so much more than was already there to just be a game of a generation. Because I want to clarify, it's not because Redfall, like, is just like a game, you know, that isn't like on that level. It's also because it's that first game after 3 years and that acquisition, and it's so it's not even like a game that just needs patched in. Like something like Jedi Survivor. Clearly the foundation is there for a great game, but it has performance issues that can get fixed. Redfall is fundamentally broken. Like Fallout 76 levels, you know what I'm talking about? Like MCC
even if
level.
it wasn't broken, it's still not a good game fixed. That's
right.
That's
but
the
I'm just
real
saying
problem
it's so deep in that you know, it's making people worried about what's to come next, because they didn't seem like they were afraid to delay a game. They did it with Starfield. Todd Howard gave the date, but they still released a game like this.
Year delay.
And here's the thing too: is the showcase. I feel like I've been saying this for like weeks, and maybe I'll end up being wrong, but I feel like this showcase is like the make or break moment for Xbox in their history, because everyone has loved Phil and sucked his for like 10 years, and now a lot of people out there saying fire Phil. A lot of people are pissed at Xbox, and I say this because the thing is that he makes it sound like on the show that we can finally expect to maybe see some gameplay of games like Fable, of games like Avowed, and maybe we'll get an announcement, hypothetically, this is just me drinking the hopium, that maybe we'll see a release date for Hellblade near the end of this year. But even then, even if we get all that somehow, even if that happens, what are we going to see from Xbox that gets us excited about what's next? Because we spent 3 years waiting for every one of those games I just mentioned. I don't want to wait another 3 years for all these games. And it's safe to assume that won't happen, but like that's what they have to prove to us, and that's where they're at, is make or break time. Like it's show and tell, because if they don't, like, you're going to see a drop off. You're going to see, there's the Xbox fanboys like me that are going to sit there and be like, I'll always try to find something to look forward to with them and be on the bright side. But at the same time, when you cut your losses and just say like, dude, it's just not working. Like it's a relationship that like you say you're gonna fix it and you show it like that day, and then the next day I wake up like you're back to your bull. Like yeah. I'm sick of it.
See, Josh, I feel a little differently. I actually don't think this showcase is the make or break moment. I think we're past it. I think it's already broke. I think we're already in the broke period, which I have something to say about that. I can take this further, but I think what we're seeing now with stagnant Game Pass and hardware sales down and the CMA block and all this stuff, it's already broke. They're making it break it. They've had several of those, and this is the point. This is why the conversation is so big right now. This is why everyone's talking about it, because it has broken. Phil talks about if Starfield was an 11 out of 10 game, that's not going to fully turn things around for them. I agree with that 100%. Because it's already at a breaking point. Now, here's something, this is on topic, and this is what I want to say. Phil Spencer says something, and most everything he said I liked. He was actually candid, he was actually honest. The one thing I didn't like he said, and this is kind of one of the biggest pull quotes of the thing, is he's like, people just think that if we put out great games, people are going to go sell their PS5s and buy Xboxes and we'll win the console war. And he says that that's just ridiculous, that's not going to happen, and that the Xbox, as Josh already said, the Xbox One generation was the hardest generation to lose because everyone built their digital libraries, and most people built them on the PS4. He's right and wrong about some things here. Here's where he's right. People did build their game libraries. The main reason that I still have an Xbox is I have such an astronomically huge game library on my Xbox. The Xbox is a great console with a great library of games, not exclusive, but great library of games. I never feel like I can get rid of my Xbox because I actually have more money put into my game library on Xbox than I do Sony. I have a lot in Sony also, but way more in Xbox. So he's right about people aren't likely to give up what they've put their money into for their game library. He's right about that. And I think that mostly applies to people like moms coming in and buying their kid a console. Well, I bought my kid an Xbox One, and we bought him all these games with our credit card. He's getting a Series X. They bought a PS4, they're getting a PS5. I do think that in a very mainstream way, like as far as buying a console for little Johnny for Christmas, you're going to do what comes next. But where I think he is it sounds kind of full of it, but I don't think he's wrong. I know he's wrong. He says that good games aren't the path to success. They absolutely are. If Microsoft's concern is winning, like being number one, it's pretty unlikely they'll ever be number one, period, in gaming again. But none of us really care that much about them being number one. We just care about them being awesome and putting out great stuff. Look at Nintendo. I know Nintendo's selling astronomical amount of Switches. I think they've actually sold more Switches than PS4. But in a sense, I think most of you will understand what I'm saying. Sony's still beating Nintendo, right? Like Nintendo's this side thing, right? You know, that's what Nintendo has positioned themselves as the additional console. You buy the Wii with your PlayStation, you buy the Wii U with your Xbox, you buy the Switch with your PS5, whatever. So
not if you're Nestor, baby. He's buying into that thing.
No, there you go. But he has an Xbox, though. See what I'm saying? Like, Nintendo is the console you get with another console. Not many people are Nintendo exclusive console owners. They're usually the supplemental console. So Sony is the winner, right? Sony's in first place constantly. But everyone wants to buy a Nintendo because they have such fire games. No one looks at Nintendo as a joke. No one looks at Nintendo as losing because everyone wants a Switch and Zelda and Mario and Metroid Prime, all this stuff. That's all Microsoft needs to do to win. And I'm not saying win, be the best. I'm saying make tons of money, tons of profit, have people sign up to Game Pass, have people buy Xbox, have people get excited for Xbox, talk about Xbox. All you gotta do is put out good games. Like, if I literally, dude, if in the next year this is not gonna happen next year, if I have Hellblade 2, Starfield, Fable, Avowed, Perfect Dark, if I had all 5 of them games in the next year or two, and they were all at least really good, if not great, it's going to feel so freaking badass to be an Xbox fan. And I'm going to tell people, like I got my friend Michael, he's in the Discord, a friend from that I know in person as well. I tried to get him to buy an Xbox when Halo Infinite was coming out because of the hype. He almost did it. He ended up not doing it. I think he made the right move because it ended up not being worth buying a whole other... He already has a PS5 and a Switch. He didn't end up doing it. But if those 5 games came out and they were fire, I'm going to go to my friends like Michael and I'm going to say, dude, Xbox is so badass. We got Perfect Dark. Hell, dude, you can't miss out on Hellblade 2. You can't skip Starfield. You got to get an Xbox. And it's not going to be being a fanboy shill as much as it's going to be, dude, it's freaking awesome being on Xbox. You got to get one. And that's what's going to sell the consoles. That's what's going to sell the game. Because I'm going to say, dude, Michael, if you just buy the game, if you just buy the Xbox, you're going to get Starfield, you're going to get Hellblade 2, you're going to get all that with Game Pass. Oh, you used to be a fan of Gears and Halo on the 360 days? They're all backwards compatible. They're in Game Pass. You can get that too. We're just going to go out there and we're going to all market for Microsoft for free because it feels so cool. That's what I was doing during the 360 days. I'd see them over there playing like Infamous 2 and like Sly Cooper on PlayStation 3, and I'd be like, dude, I got Gears. And
bro, enjoy your Killzone. I'm over here playing Halo 3.
I'm like, dude, seriously, get a 360, man. And that's what we're going to do. All they have to do is make great games. And maybe Phil spoke in a not maybe the best way because he was frustrated. Maybe he looks back and says, I could have chose my words differently. I'd almost guess that because Smart's extremely Phil. Or I said Smart's extremely Phil.
Yeah, I was like, what?
Phil's extremely smart. Way smarter than we are. He knows that good games are going to sell the platform. But I think he was just trying to say, we're pivoting with the cloud and the Game Pass and all this stuff, and good games is not enough to make us first place. But we don't care if you're first place. We just want you to give us a reason to be proud of your console and proud of what you're doing. You guys they're so upset about this Activision Blizzard deal and it not going through, but as has been said many times, you guys have so many studios and so many IP and so much money. There is no reason why you shouldn't be able to match Sony 1-to-1 for as many good exclusive games as they have coming out. And there's so many ways that Microsoft is already ahead of Sony, honestly, that if they could just match them on the single player games, holy things would be going good for them. They have a way better service with Game Pass than what Sony has. Sony's service is a joke. The PlayStation Plus, whatever it is, Premium, is a joke compared to Game Pass. Backwards compatibility, it's a joke compared to Xbox. Cloud integration, it's a joke compared to Xbox. Like, there's so many different ways. If you can't afford an Xbox, you can get a subscription plan where you pay for the console over time with your Game Pass, and you don't have to. There's so many ways that Microsoft is factually doing better than Sony. Actually, I would even say that their ability to put out live. And I know Halo Infinite's a terrible example. Their ability to do the whole live service ecosystem, cloud, multiplayer angle, also better on Xbox. That's why Sony acquired Bungie. They want to get into that market. They're much more the single player type. But it's just that Microsoft is failing so poorly on one of the central cores of what makes a console worth buying, which is the exclusives. It doesn't, I would say single player exclusive, but it doesn't even have to be single player. I mean, if Redfall was a 10 out of 10, doesn't matter that it's mostly multiplayer. It would still be, I mean, if Fortnite was an Xbox exclusive, holy, right? You know what I mean? So they're just failing on that one thing so bad. And we've seen, Josh has already said it, and I'm going around and around. They've made so many good moves in so many areas. The acquisitions, the Game Pass, the backwards compatibility, the console itself. The Xbox Series X is such a premium piece of hardware. They got to change the narrative, man. They have to put out good games.
I agree and I disagree with some of the stuff you said about Phil, because I feel like when I heard that it was just, I saw it on Twitter especially, and it was getting so taken out of context and so misconstrued. Okay. And to me, when he said that, like, we can't just put out games and that be the be-all, end-all, like, that's not going to be, we can't put out a one game to rule them all type of thing, he said, which I love the Lord of the Rings reference.
I love that too.
Yeah, but to me, what that's saying is, it's like a Mamba mentality of, if you define your success by someone else's rules, you've already lost.
I agree with
failed.
that.
And I think like what he's trying to say is look, he's trying to look at the bigger picture, and it's coming right at the end of the show. He doesn't have much time. So I think what he's trying to say is that we can't, like, yes, we do have to put out AAA games. We have to put out bangers. But we can't just do that. We have to have all this other stuff too.
I agree with you. Yeah.
Because, so what Sony's doing is they put out these games. That's what they're known for. And that's why people like Brian have shifted over, because Brian is 10 to 1 more passionate than me about video games. I'm more of a movie guy these days. Brian's 10 to 1 about that. Brian will check out new games. Brian will replay games. Brian will just go over, back, left, and right, all around, talking, thinking, obsessing about games, ranking games, getting in the community with people and talking about it. There's a reason that Twitter has 12.4K followers, even though I'm running it. It went from like 500 likes a post to 30. So that tells you how good Brian is and how passionate he is with that stuff. So Brian buys into that stuff because number one thing he wants is to play video games. And they're putting out exclusives he can't get anywhere else. But then you go on Xbox, and there just ain't shit. So I understand that Phil's trying to say, like, to me, I take it as you have to have not just that. You can't just have great food at a restaurant. You got to have great service. You got to have great dining areas. You got to have great glasses, silverware. You got to have a great overall experience. And they built up the foreground of that. They built up the foundation. But there is literally nothing to jump off of with that. And I mean, I would even say, to your credit, Brian, I mean, I love what you said about how, like, imagine telling friends that, like, oh, Avowed, we got this, we got Perfect Dark, we got Fable, we got, Halo, and all this stuff. I don't even think that's enough at this point, because it's like, what's next? What's beyond that? These are the games we know that's coming. What else are you doing? Because I'm so sick of Microsoft putting out a game, and then it's like, oh, great, this is fun, but as I'm playing it, I'm like, another 3 years or another 2 years or another, another console generation waiting. Like, the great thing about Sony is, like I said, there's always something to look forward to. With Xbox, there's not. With Xbox, it's in this vast beyond of, like, wow. I mean, people have had, and this is the problem too, with expectations, with momentum, with, just first impressions, period. A game like Avowed that they show off in 2020 as a CG trailer, okay? And I'm going to put Fable in this category too. You have two games that are both CG trailers. We have no idea what those games look like in gameplay. Now, I'll pull Fable out of this part because people know mostly what to expect from Fable. It's an established IP, right? But Avowed is the only thing that's similar that people can pull from is that it takes place in the Pillars of Eternity universe of Aora, I think it's called. But other than that, the game is fundamentally completely different than those games. It's a first-person game. People have had 3 years to picture what that game looks like in their mind. And it's got them hyped because they have nothing else to go off on. Now, people had 30 years to picture what was going to happen with Luke Skywalker, with Han Solo, Leia, Chewbacca, Lando, everybody. So expectations get built up over this huge period of time, and those play a huge factor in the defining results of an experience. So when Avowed gets revealed, it's entirely possible. Like, this is the most this game is the most interested one I am to hear more about. I know Fable's probably going to be fun. You know, Perfect Dark's going to be probably super interesting. You got other people like In Exile and other stuff. They're cooking up stuff, right? You know, but something like Avowed has got me very interested because it's going to be a while before we still get another Elder Scrolls, and this makes it sound like Obsidian's crack it like an Elder Scrolls game. But I've had 3 years to kind of imagine what this looks like. What I just say? I said it looks, you know, it's like they're cracking an Elder Scrolls game. What if it's nothing like that? We have no idea what to expect, but we've had 3 years to try to figure that out for ourselves. So when that game comes out and what they show off, it's possible it could completely disappoint people. Whereas another game like a state of play that Sony does and puts out, that's a big surprise. It could be a little bit different, but it won't disappoint people because they've not had 3 years of just going off a cinematic trailer. You know what I mean? Well, it's like, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I think we're actually in complete agreement. We might just be slightly missing each other in a little part, but I think we're actually in complete agreement. What you said about, you know, they have all these things lined up, they're doing so well, and you know, you saying that like it's not just about the AAA game only. Like Phil said, you know, like that's just not enough. I agree with you. What I think's happened is Microsoft's built a Ferrari and they forgot the key to start it.
Yeah.
Because they have the Ferrari. They have an awesome console itself. They have an awesome service, Game Pass, amazing backwards compatibility, the best cloud service anyone has. They have amazing controller. I mean, they have literally everything. But here's the thing. It's like a Ferrari without the key. All of it really means nothing without the exclusives that matter.
100%. Yeah.
So I agree with what Phil's saying there, but what I'm saying is you're completely right about that, Phil, but like if you don't have the exclusives, gamers are just overlooking everything else. We just don't care. Like we get to play God of War Ragnarok on Sony. We get to play Breath of the Wild on Switch. Mm-hmm. We don't get to play anything like that on your console. So I don't care how great your backwards compatibility is, how great your Game Pass is. Here's the thing too: is like I know, and this I don't want to sound when I say this. I mean this in a very fair, nice way. Like some people are definitely financially struggling so hard. Game Pass is the only way they're going to play games, and that is amazing. And I am so glad that's there. But in my experience, even people I have known who make barely any money at all, who are already in debt, to hardly have a cent to their name, they will go out and buy the iPhone over the Nokia knockoff. They will go out and buy $70 Tears of the Kingdom or whatever other game, $70 Final Fantasy 16 over a Game Pass subscription. They don't have the money. It's not logical. It makes no sense. But they want the big shiny. They want the good thing. They want the
big shiny.
The big shiny. That's how people work, right? Like I'm not saying no one out there would choose a Game Pass subscription over some of the best games this industry has to offer, but most people are gonna pull the trigger. They're gonna do it anyways. So it doesn't matter how much Microsoft has all these other things lined up. I think was it kind of funny, or some other people were talking about like having the dominoes lined up.
Yeah.
You can have all the dominoes lined up, but if there's no one there to hit the first domino, it's all worthless.
Not knocking down, yeah, no, absolutely.
It's all pointless. And then the thing that I think I didn't say to your credit, I didn't say, but when I said like I'll go to my friends and say Perfect Dark, Avowed, Hellblade 2, and you said that's not enough, Brian. What I'm saying is, I was saying under the assumption that those games have released, and all the other studios are about to bring us more in the years to come, like the next year.
Absolutely, yeah, sure.
And if they're able to give us what we've seen, and then like all the studios they've acquired just start knocking them down, and like, okay, we got all those games, and then 2024, here's another game or two. 2025, here's another game or two. Holy, that's what I'm talking about. Obviously, they can't. If they dropped all 5 of them bangers this year, and then just screwed off for 2 more years again, they're going to be right back in this position. Gamers want the new thing. If there's nothing new, we're going to forget about it. We're going to move on. Like, look at the 360 generation. I feel like for most people, the 360 generation was just way cooler than the PS3 generation. But it took less than a year for everyone to just abandon Xbox and go to PS4 because that's where the cool stuff is.
That's why I think the state of the showcase is going to matter, because it's like a glass half empty, glass half full thing, right?
It's going to matter.
There's just so much buildup of like waiting. And I think I remember when the Starfield delay came out, and everyone was like, oh, like it was heartbreaking. But then eventually everyone got past it. It was like a normal thing. And then Ragnarok came out and stuff like that. And, you know, stuff shifted because people, like, 2022 was kind of across the board, mostly a dry year. But you had some hits kind of in the beginning and in the end. But in the middle, it was nothing. It's like a sandwich with nothing in the middle. Yeah. And, you know, I look at it now, and it's just, it's frustrating for me because, like, I want to see what's coming. I want to see what's ahead. But I also haven't even seen what's supposed to be coming soon. And so, I mean, it's hard, too, because I look at Phil, and I think what he's saying, you know, I mean, there's a couple things I'm all over the place, but if I could throw a bone at Xbox, it's like, look, the pandemic happened, and even prior to that, you know, there was acquiring of these studios. And something like the Initiative is a culmination of people. It's the same situation as 343 in the sense that you're bringing together people. They're a rookie developing studio. And you have someone like, is it Playground Games developing Fable, Brian? It's Playground Games, correct?
Yep.
So these guys are like 3432 in the sense that they're inheriting an already established IP, and they're supposed to somehow make this and knock this out of the park right away. That's what we all want and we expect. That's not fair. And I don't think in any scenario is that fair. Should they put out a good, acceptable game? Absolutely. But I'm just saying that, like, there have been a lot of situations. I think Jason Schreier reported like last year that Avowed has gone through a lot of changes. You know, there's stuff like that goes on that we just don't know about, and everyone just assumes, like, you guys have had X amount of years, put out a great game, but you don't think about the behind the scenes aspects of it. You don't think about what's probably cut, what they can't probably do, things that people that have to get brought in. I mean, like 343, like, I loved a lot of the people there, but just the work culture, the foundation, it sucks because, like, how many times have they had to bring in other people to help them out? And I don't think that's a sign of weakness. I just think that, like, these people who inherited a franchise, and they've had it essentially almost longer, I think now factually, than Bungie ever did, like, they just can't get good momentum with it. And Xbox relied on that to sort of keep the lights on, and it's lost all momentum. Halo players are having fun with it, but, like, it's not bringing in people like they were hoping it would, like a lot of these other third-party games, or you know, like a Call of Duty, a lot of these battle royale games and stuff like that have done. That was supposed to funnel them over until, like, we could get to the Bethesda era.